Well, hello and welcome to the webinar. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is James Timmons and I'll be instructing you through today's session. Today we're going to have a great session, and today we're going to be talking about logo creation and artwork simplification. And this is something that can be related to when you get a graphic from a customer that is not up to par and they don't have a better graphic to give to you. And in this particular case, we'll have to go in and if they want the graphic, create a vector graphic from what they give to you. Also have the possibility of going in and being able to digitize from that particular graphic. It all depends on how complex the design is. That's going to take us to our project for today. The project for today you'll find interesting. As we navigate and we click on the project for today, this is what we're looking at. This is the design that we're going to do today for our project. The customer wants this 3 inches and they want the ladybug cleaners a separate color. As you look at designs like these, it can be very, very complex based on what you get sent and what the customer wants this as a finished size for embroidery. Now, this particular design here is going to be 3 inches tall. And as we're looking at this and you're trying to decide, we know that an auto conversion with this is out of the question. And so we're faced with two scenarios here. We need to create a graphic and we need to digitize the design for embroidery. So you see what happens sometimes when digitizers get designs from customers that it's a terrible graphic. And if it's a terrible graphic, then that digitizer has to work twice as hard now because they have a not a very good graphic to go from as far as them creating that design. And this is why sometimes you get charged more money because of the complexity of the design and what the digitizer has to do to now prepare this for embroidery. If this was a wonderful, great graphic like CDR file, a vector file, which is camera ready artwork, ready for production, then we wouldn't have to go through this particular process. I want to walk you through what we have to deal with as digitizers dealing with bad graphics. If I were to ask you, what do you see when you look at this design? As we break it down and as we get to the process of thinking about what we need to do step by step in order to get this to work, what do you see when you look at this besides it's a terrible graphic? Fuzzy picture with shadows, yep, smeared dirt. It's not good, is it? And I see also symmetry. Absolutely, there's symmetry in this also. So besides the terrible look that we see here, as we narrow it down, was it going to be possible enough for me to go in and digitize this as a graphic? And then if I'm going to continue with this and use this as an embroidery design file, I see symmetry, which is great for us because we know with symmetry, that means that we're only working with half of that particular object, basically, and we're duplicating it and we're flipping it over. So that is a great thing to do. So when you look at designs like this that are problems, then you just continue with your thought process. And now what am I going to have to do now to go in and convert this down? The finished size and embroidery for this should be 3 inches. So I'm going to select this here. Let me go up top here and change my measurement system here to US. So this should be 3 inches. And as I look to my property bar here, the property bar tells me that it's actually 3 inches tall. But that's not true, is it? The property bar says it's 3 inches tall. I have everything, so I have the design selected. What's wrong with this? The numbers are correct. The smudgy mark, the dead space here is a problem. In order for us now to make this 3 inches tall correctly, we'll have to go in and select the image. As we select the image, as we've done several times before, we're going to go up top here to the graphics, and we're going to go and we're going to choose crop the bitmap, and we just want to use a rectangle. This state, now here, I'll go in and I'm going to click on the inside of my arrow here, or my little ruler, to put a guideline here. The sides are pretty good and kind of close, and also the top is toast. So the issue is more so at the bottom here with this little smudgy area. And now I'm going to draw, start right here. I'm going to drag this up just like this, eliminating any areas that I don't want in this graphic. And I'm going to release this. See what happens? This is before and this is after. But now I'm still not finished yet because I still have this dead space here. The final is to navigate here, back up to your graphics and choose finalize the crop. So now the design was actually 2.3 inches tall. So now we'll go in to our height here, and now we can make this 3.0 and press enter. So now we have a design that is the proper size, and it also made it worse too, because it made it larger, which means that what happens when you make it larger, it gets worse. But as far as the finished size of the embroidery here for this, we have this correct now. So at this point here now, we've got the size correct here. And I'm going to navigate. I want to click this. I want to make sure that it's centered. I'll navigate here back to my property bar here. So I want it for the X position at 0. And as I select here and highlight this Y position at 0. So now it's actually centered on the page. At this step here, now I'll go in. Next step here, I'll go in, I'll choose Save As. Saving this as an EMB file, and I'll save this and save, overwrite. So here we have our now active design that we can continue to process with this. And I don't want to move this, because what happens sometimes if it's not locked on the space, if you're digitizing, you may do oops, something like that, which can become a bit irritable. So here I will navigate here to the color object list. And I want you guys to notice also, notice how my page is set up here. I'm going to right click here. I'll scroll down and I want to lock this, or I can click the K key here to lock this on the page. My setup here, you always see my object properties in my color object list. You see the dockers, they'll be fully open and locked because the little thumbtack here is pointing at 6 o'clock on my page, because you want to be able to see everything. Can everyone hear me? The next stage with this is now I want to go in and I want to break this down. I want to break it down. You can do this either this way. We have the shadows here on the bug. They got to go. You're not going to use those for this. We have any areas here that we see here that's just not going to work. We're going to get rid of those particular areas. We're not going to go in and digitize those because it's going to cause a problem with this, basically. So all the shadows, they have to go away. We don't need any of the shadows, but we have to go in. Now, just as you would digitize this for embroidery, being a digitizer for embroidery, also being a digitizer for graphics, if you have that inside your shop, you got a gold mine. With the graphics, basically what happens a lot of times with the graphics is that the objects are too thin, the spaces between objects are too close, and you really have to think about, a graphic artist and an embroidery graphic artist are two totally different people. So, but if you have knowledge of both of those, then you have a gold mine, because with the vector or with the graphics, I can create small things. I can create letters that are 1 millimeter and they can print perfectly. But with the embroidery, now my thought process is I have to think like I'm writing with a crayon. Let that sit for a moment. Writing with a crayon means that everything has to be larger now. The spaces between those objects have to be wider in order for me to stitch this on fabric, because now I'm no longer dealing with ink. Now I'm dealing with thread. And that makes a huge difference in the process as far as what we have to do here. And as I'm looking at this, my thought process with this is that I want to go in, I'm doing the legs first because the legs are close to the floor. So I'm going to knock those out first, and the antenna. I'll do the head here and the shoulder area, and then I'll go in and I'll do the inside this little field here underneath this, and then I'll do the wings on top of that, do my little dots, and then I'm going to digitize the letters. That is the order in which I see me doing this basically. And I always tell you guys, digitizing is an opinion. Main thing, just like going to the baseball game, it starts at 8 o'clock. Everybody from the family is coming in from different sides of town. No one's going to take the same route. But the main thing is getting to the park on time for the pitch out. That's the main thing. With this, creating the graphic first allows me to go in. And this is great too, because then you have the graphic and you have the embroidery file if you extend it to that particular way. Well, how do I go in and do these legs here like this? Well, you're going to navigate here. You have your graphics digitizing tools, digitize close shape. And I'm also going to navigate up top here to my fills. And I'm going to click on my vector. Once I do that, you'll see my Docker here change to the vector under special here. So I've got my vectors here. I can always go in, I can change colors back to where they were before. If I want to go in and start, this is the outline color here. You get to decide whether you're going to use an outline with this. And for sometimes you want to use an outline, sometimes you don't. Here's the style here where you can choose whether you want to use a line or you can choose no line. I'm going to choose no line for this. And I'm going to scroll down here to where it says no fill. I'm going to click on solid fill. That's going to show me the color here now. I can go back and I can change the color later. I'll start with a different color here. I'll use green. And now when I go in and choose green, and when I start digitizing, I'll start here, just like this. And to finish this, I'll press enter. I'm going to close it off just like this. So there is the first leg. Now, when you're dealing with the embroidery part of this now, we'll need what I call islands to go from one island to the next island here. And we're doing embroidery, we're trying to keep the needle on the thread, or the needle on the fabric, I'm sorry, for as long as possible. But with the graphic, we're not going to use the running stitch here for this. We don't need it, but we'll continue here with the digitizing the legs, just like this. Just like this, digitizing the outlines. Knowing that this is going to be stitched, just like this. Right clicking here for a curve. Once I get next to the last point here, I'll press enter. It's going to close it up just like this. So when I'm doing the graphic, actually, I can already see this stitching on the embroidery machine in my brain, and I can actually hear the machine running also. With this here also, now with this one, because you're actually going here, you're creating this graphic here for this particular design that you're working with here. You're improving the shapes here with this now, because the shapes that were there before are no longer valid, because you're actually creating the shapes yourself here, just like this. This one here like this, go in. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Make a mistake, press your backspace key. I'll make it curved. When I press enter, I'm going to close up just like this. And this is what that looks like. So those are completed, right? So next, here with this one now, I'll just navigate over. Click on my tool here. Here I have my vector objects here inside my color object list. You note that they're vector objects here because you notice the original file here was a bitmap file. And that's why when I zoom into it like this, you see that it's very pixelated because it's a bitmap file. So any type of JPEG bitmap file that you have, it'll be the first one that's going to be displayed here inside your color object list. Second will be all your vector items. If you stitch anything, the third layer would be all of your stitched objects. But here we're just dealing with vectors right now. And I can select all four of those just like this. I can navigate here to edit. I can choose duplicate, click, You see the duplication process here? Like I said, I want to see everything. I'll navigate here to my transform tool, and I'm going to mirror this horizontally. And I'm going to use my arrow key at 9 o'clock, and I'm going to slide this over just like this. So for me, being an artist, it helps me immensely to go in and I can create the graphic, even though if I'm not doing embroidery, it's one thing, but if I am doing embroidery, I can go in and digitize it like I would, just like it's going to stitch, basically, is what I want to do with that particular case. Now I'll click save. The legs are finished. The next area here will be the head area here, and I'll just navigate over here to my little ellipse tool. Click my ellipse tool here like this. Press my control key down, holding it down, my control key, holding it down here. Left click here to finish the width, and then, oops, made a mistake. Backspace key. Switch out here to 3 o'clock, left click, and now release the control key, click, and that's what I got here right now. That's the head area. The rest of this, as I log through this now, right now for this one, this is the shoulder area here. I'll use the close shape here for the graphics tool. And I'll just start here. Same color, just like this. Going around the outside, just like this. And I can create this again, just like it's going to stitch in embroidery. I'm going to click save here, just like this. Now, in working with the designs from the embroidery side is different than using Corel Draw, because Corel Draw is a fully graphics program. And because of that, it's a fully graphics program. You have more tools to use for special effects and things like that you would not have inside the embroidery studio, because here we're dealing with thread. I'll need to go in, and areas like this here, it's kind of overlapping backfill here. So at this point now, if I do a change of color for this, I'll just navigate here, go down. If I want to change colors here on the bottom, I can click on a color, or better yet, inside the Docker, I can click on the down arrow here. At this point now, I can go in and choose a different color. When I draw, I'll use this color. If I'm going to go in and use a color like this, and I'll press enter, and it goes in, change the color, just like that. Now next, here, after I click save, and sometimes also, if I don't want to see a color on the page because I've got something to digitize on top of it, I'll just go in and I'll select here, and I'll press my control key down inside my color object list. I'll click this one. I'm going to right click on these. I'm going to hide these, because sometimes you want to see them, sometimes you don't want to see them. And at this next stage here now, I'll go in and I'll change my color here again to red. And when I start drawing here using the close shape tool, I can start at the top like this and just draw around the outside of this. I can press enter, and I've got the red fill just like this. Great thing about this also, the symmetry part of it. I still have no line selected here, because depending on if it's large enough, you may want to use an outline for it here, but I'm just going to keep this just like that. And I'm also going to go up top to my edit drop menu. As I select duplicate, you see the duplication here inside the color object list. And now I'll navigate to edit. I'll go to my transform tool and transform that and flip it, and use my arrow key at 9 o'clock to move this over here to the correct position here. And the more that you do this, of course, the faster that you get doing it also. As you're going in and looking at this, and anything that needs to be adjusted, you just click and slide this over, or I can click on the legs. This, if I do this leg, I'll have to do this leg too. Use the arrow key over here to slide it over. See the distance here from this one and the close. So it's totally up to you. I'm going to click save, just like this. Now at this particular stage, now I've got some other areas here that I need to go in and do. If I right click on this objects, I can choose unhide all. And this is what we're looking at here. I can go back here to color number 3, or the color number green here with this one, and choose black to fill that in. And this is what that looks like. When I select these as well, I've got these two colors. As I select these here, I can right click and I can hide those. If I have other colors here that I'm going to add to this, highlights or something like that, again, I'll go back. First, I can change my color here. Navigate over to my drop menu. Left click just like this. Same here for this one. Edit, duplicate, flip it again horizontally. Use my arrow key here, move it over just like this. However you want to do it to get it to work is what you will do with this basically. Now I can go back, unhide all, and I'm going to click save here just like this. Probably one of the easiest parts here going in and doing the dots, because the dots are going to be the easiest thing to do in this particular case here. So as I go in, I'll click on the colors here inside my color object list, right click, and I want to hide those. And I also want to go here inside my Docker and choose color black. And now when I navigate and I choose my ellipse tool, I have circles. And for these, I'm just right clicking and dragging, right click and drag, right click and drag. It's going to duplicate it just like this. You can move them to wherever you want to move them to also. It's totally up to you because you're the digitizer. You're creating all of this. As I right click, unhide all. And if I'm going to also hide the bitmap image here by going up top here inside your areas here, and you have your views, I'm going to click on this first item here, or I can press the D to hide the bitmap image. It only shows now just the vector image here. And this is what that looks like. This is the vector design here. With this vector design, we can go in and we'll change that to any vector designs. And right now, again, guys, as you're looking at this now, if it's your intent to add a border around the outside of the areas here, you can just select it. And you just go back into your Docker here, and where I deselected the line, I'll go back in now and choose a line. And now I could change the color here of the line like this. And I could also make it, change the measurement system here. I can make it thicker like this. This is the height, the width here like this one, just like that. You can change this. And now you got this great graphic here that you just created, this original graphic here that you created. So this is exactly how you would go in and do this if you had this to do. And that's 0.42. And for this one here, I can do 0.42 and change that color here to black. Same thing, just like this. Navigate up top here and click save. Because for the fill area here, what I'm thinking, for the fill area here on the wings, you want, sometimes at this size, you don't just want the fill on it if you can help it. You want the fill, and you want a border around the fill also to kind of secure it, to make it look more uniform. So that's the reason why I chose to do it this way. Now I'm going to navigate back up top here and turn back on my bitmap images like this. And with this, what I'm thinking here with this, the letters here, going in and creating this as a vector, again, you have the ability to go here now. I can choose my close shape tool. I still have my vector fill turned on here also. I don't want the line, making sure that there's no line, because I don't want the line here for this. And I just want the fill. So as I click, and I want to change the color of this also so that I can see it clear. Let's go here again. And I just, out of habit, I'm going to go in and I'm going to draw it just like I'm going to digitize it. So here for this one. And with the letters here also, as you go in and as you're creating this, right clicking here, because the graphic is just so bad, but we won't let it stop us from doing a much better graphic for this, creating this originally ourselves from this terrible artwork. Right clicking here like this. And when I press enter, it's going to fill it in just like this. Same thing here for the U. Right click here like this. The great thing about this, I can say, is that the at least it's not like a Helvetica font where you have to have straight lines and everything. That would have made it a lot more interesting and more difficult to do also. But because it's kind of like a freehand drawing situation here with these, and again, if you don't like the shape of it, you just navigate over here to your reshape mode. You see your node points here. You can go in, you can adjust the node points. Just like this, just like you would with the regular stitching objects that you have inside the software. You use the same ones basically. You can right click here to add a node point, make a mistake, undo. Here, you move this up like this because you're controlling everything. I'll click save here just like this. And not to, to keep in mind also that going in and we're going to create some stitches from this also. These, as I go in here and I'm looking at this here, close shape, just like this. Right clicking, backspace here. See this one? As I continue with this one. Just like this, to go down. And for something like this, now, usually when you're going in and you're creating these shapes like this, because it is a graphic, this is what happens when we delete these. This one here, just to show you what happens with something like this as you go in. So this in itself, basically here, as you're going in and creating the graphic for this, you can go in and make this. What happens for these areas like this also, what I'm thinking here with this, I'm going to go in and I'm going to digitize this as a satin stitch. Now, what else I can do for this also at this particular point here, if I'm going to go in, if I select this, I'm going to scroll down here to my vector tools here at the bottom of this. So this has a hole in it. What happens for situations like this also, if it's a graphic and this is going to be printed, what can be done for something like this is, if I select this, if I go in and I create this, because it has holes in it, as I select this, I'm gonna hide that one, white. Looking at this here from a graphic perspective, if it's going to be printed, nobody's going to see this. And this is something to think about, because when you're going in, remember, because of the graphic, with the graphic here, it makes sense. With the embroidery, we can go in, because we're using stitches, it'll be a different look for it, because with these stitches, we can just go in and just digitize it and have the thread cover those areas up. But a situation like this, we're working with a graphic. I want you to keep that in mind. Like this. Just like this, guys. Enter. And as we continue, again, same thing here for the D. This is the graphic that we're dealing with here. This is the graphic. Hide. Change colors like here. Inside. Isn't it interesting how graphic changes things based on the fact that now, when we look at this, we've got the graphic that we can use for printing. And when you go in and looking at this, I just want to ask about the hole feature inside the software. Here inside the software, you have a tool that's called fill holes. But you notice though, it doesn't work with the graphic. It's specifically for stitches. It's not for the graphic. And that's why I didn't choose that, because I knew it wasn't going to work. So it only works now. Let's say, for instance, if I were like to stitch this, now it becomes available. And I can go in and put a hole in it like this. Isn't that cool? Let's back it up. All right. As we continue, vector. Here we go again. And it's also great to see how different the embroidery is versus doing just the graphics. Graphics are wonderful, but when you're going in and you're creating different types of scenarios like we have here, I'm going to hide this, change my color here again like this, go back here to my, and I can change the shape of this like that and press enter. Select here, navigate back, right click here and unhide, and I'm going to click save just like this. So understanding this process and understanding why we do what we do for this specific reason is critical also, because once you understand what needs to be done, then you would go in and you won't be affected by the difficulty of the design. You just have to rethink it. As far as if it's just the embroidery, I'm going to have to do it this way, but now because it's a graphic and I'm going to use this for printing purposes, then I'm good to go with it. Select. Just like this, right clicking, creating that shape that you can, again, because it's a vector tool, a vector object, you can go in and you could change the shapes on it at any time. Anytime you can go in, you can change the shape of it to make it look the way that you want it to look. Let's see if we can use this one for that one. Now, I'm going to select this. Right now, when I selected it the first time and moved it, I've got the black node points around it. This just selects the object, but I want to actually rotate it. I have an option to go in and rotate it by navigating here to my transform tool here. I can rotate this by 15 degrees by clicking this and moving this down to see if, in fact, this is going to work. Look at that. No sense in reinventing the wheel. Close shape. And notice, now watch this. Now the E is a separate object. And the outside here of the E, it is a different object. This is why there's not going to be a problem with the void in the area here, because we're dealing with just two separate objects here now. Unlike the A, anything with the hole in it, because these are two separate objects. Okay, and because they're separate objects, you know, I can go in and I can do this with this. I'm going to select both of these here inside my color object list. I'm going to right click this like that. I want to group those together. And I can also do the same thing for this, for the B, group. Right click and group. Right click here and group. Just like this, and go save. Got the letter A here. Again, when I select it, you got the black node points. Right click over here like this and move it over like that. And let's rotate it by 15 degrees. This. And see if we can drop it right there. Can nudge it. I can click it a second time. When I click it a second time, you'll see the hollow node points. Now I can rotate it manually like this and drop it right there. Isn't that cool? Save this. It makes it much faster. It's already done. So next here, I'll go back here to my drawing tool. Close shape just like this, guys. And this also makes me appreciate the graphics, makes me appreciate the difference between the graphics and the embroidery and how to go in and how to get them to work collectively. E's already done. I've already grouped it, right click. I'll click it twice here and just to rotate it and move this down like that. Perfect. Get the R. Just like this. Well, this is different too also. These are two separate objects here. And this is a separate object, just like this. Just like this, guys. And again, when I select it, right click in the color object list here like this and hide it. Then go white and digitize just like this. Did you guys know that you can do all this stuff inside the embroidery mode? Really incredible. Unhide. And here I'll select these just to group these also together, just to keep them connected in the S. So go here, draw. And this is why it takes so long to do lettering, because lettering is the most, I would say, complex, most time-consuming area here of embroidery. When you don't have a font and you have to go in and you have to manually digitize the lettering, especially if they're small lettering. This is all lettering, it's even takes even longer time actually. I'm going to click on save up top like that. Go to my color object list here. I'm going to see, start with the G here, go all the way down to the bottom, shift key. Shift all the way down to the bottom. And here for the fill. Now, as far as the color changes on this, if I want to go in and do a color change, it makes more sense to me to do the color change from inside the vector Docker. Like right now, I'm going to go in and I select the G. I go in and I select everything else. Oops. And this is not going to work either because this, because I have the area, I got these objects here, they group together. I'd have to go in and select them. Shift key, right click here and ungroup. So now when I go in, and the white areas here, click those separately. Right click and hide those. All right. And now when I go in and select, press shift to the S. Now I can go in to my Docker and I can change my color. Then go in, I'm using my control key here to unhide all. Did I miss one here? There we go. All right, I have questions, hold on. Now, does it matter which direction you draw around an object? It doesn't, because as you, if you're right-handed, you're gonna go left or right, vice versa. So it won't matter in that regard. What did I do? The R as two separate objects. With the R, basically, because with the R you have two objects. Could I have done it with one and did the hole in the middle? Yes, I could have done that also. So both of those would actually work. And because when I go in and I'm digitizing this, again, keep in mind, this is just the graphic part here. You could also go in and just draw the entire object and put the white hole in it, just like I did on the others. And I was just going with the flow pretty much is why I did that. I can comment here about the letters. The vector letters never stitch out properly for me. I always use the embroidery alphabet. Yeah, you want to, whenever you guys, and this is important to remember also, when you're doing conversions, anything that's not jacket back size, I'm not going to try to automatically convert it. I'm not going to do it. And the only reason why I would do it is because the letters are large enough that I can use it as a tatami stitch. Things for me, basically, you may do it a bit differently. I want to have control over it. I don't want the software to have control over it. I want to control it because, one, I know that when I go in, if I click this auto convert button, the system itself basically is on automatic pilot. You have absolutely no control. The system is smart enough to know that it has to go in and fill these areas in. And sometimes when it does it, it goes in and it actually branches the objects together. Sometimes that may create problems when you're editing also. So You want to just maintain, make sure and maintain that when you're going in, any type of small letters, the first thing you always want to do is think about the Wilcom fonts. Look to the font library to see if that font is close to a Wilcom font, because that's the smartest thing to do, and it's the quickest thing to do. And of course, if the font's not there, another thing too, I never use, and this is just me, okay, and this is just me saying digitizing is an opinion. I never use the two-site fonts. I don't use them just for displaying and stitching out the letters. I use them as templates to digitize on top of. With those two-site fonts, it's like a hit or a miss. You click the one letter, it stitches perfectly. The second one, it goes perfectly. Third and fourth, instead of me wasting my time going back in to fix it, I'll just go in and just digitize it quickly and be done with it. But everybody is different in that regard also. If you're referring to the R, basically the same. I drew this like I would digitize it. Because the top portion of it here was solid, I had to put the white on top of it in order to have the hole in it. Because again, this is going to be a graphic here, and it's going to be printed, is what this is going to be here, basically. I'll click Save here like this. Like I mentioned also, the TrueType fonts, just know that it's a hit or a miss. And they're not Wilcom digitized by human fonts. They're not. They're vector objects that are being converted automatically, is what they are. And nothing hurts to try it and see if it works. You could always try it and see if it works first, because if anything that you try and it works out perfectly fine and you don't have to digitize it, that's perfectly fine. But as far as just being able to go in, and depending on what type of layout it is also, how small the letters are and all this good stuff, then you just want to be careful, because it can create lots of problems. You can add many more stitches in the design, and you just want to make sure that it's doing the right thing production-wise for you. Now, so with this, guys, now we have our vector design. Select this here. I'll move this over here just like this. Here's the vector design. Here is the bitmap in the background. We've reached the point here now where we have our image. And if I want to go over, if I wanted to open up Corel Draw over here, let me go to a new page. So if I select and I go and I choose copy, and I go to Corel Draw, from the embroidery side, if you click on the paste and it does not paste it, next step, go to edit. You're going to choose paste special. And here, it'll let you do the picture, the enhanced meta file, and you click OK like this. And this is what it came out looking like. Not sure why it did that. I was pretty sure that I grabbed all of the dots here also. Let's see here. Oops, hold on. Let me back it up, guys. Hold on. Edit, paste special. I'll just move them over like this. So this now, so you have access to let me go back here again. Hold on. Missed this one. Copy, navigate here, go back here to Corel Draw. And edit, paste special. What I just showed you just now, whenever you deal with something like this, and I'm glad this happened, if you copy and paste something over, if the paste doesn't work, if you go over to edit and choose paste special and it doesn't work, then you just select the item. I'm going to navigate up top here. I'm going to ungroup them. You just click it, right click, copy it, I'll do a Control V, and I'll just flip it over like this. You can still get it done, guys. You can still get it done. Being able to go in and up top here, I'll click and choose to fit. And right now, as far as the graphic is concerned with this design, now I can go in, if I need to go in and tidy anything up, I can tidy it up. And now I can go in, I can save this, go to File, I can choose Save As. And because I use Corel, I'll go in. Right now, if I want to send this to someone that doesn't have the current version of Corel Draw, right now it says embedded fonts here, it says version. This is my current version here of the 2004 Corel Draw. If I need to save it down to an earlier version, I click the down arrow here and choose it 17 and just choose save. And it saves this as a use ladybug and save. And it saves this as a CDR file, which is a vector file that I can use for this now. As you go in and you're working inside the software, guys, this is what you can do here. Creating a fully vectorized image inside the Embroidery Studio from the embroidery side. And for me, with this, now it's quicker. Maybe I can go in now and click on the leg here, and then I can go in to my Smart Design tools. Maybe I can click on Instant Smart Design now. And you just see what it did here. It didn't go in and it broke this off here actually. The options that you have when you go in and doing something like this is doing it this way, or I can just go in, I can select this. And I'm going to lock this in, press K here like this. I have a question. Can you save the vector art in Willcom Embroidery Studio as well? No, you wouldn't want to save the vector art in Embroidery Studio. You want to save it as, let's see here, let's go to File. If I choose export as a vector here like this, you can do it. I guess one of the reasons why I said I would do it from the Corel Draw, because here you can save it as a vector, but you see you can only save it as an EMF file or an EPS file. And if it's your intention to only save it as an EMF or EPS file, you can save it here. You're just limited. You can't save it. You don't have as many options as you would if you went to Corel Draw, because again, Corel Draw is a fully graphics program. We have more options as far as going in and saving the design file with it, basically. And here also, remember, even if you save this as an EMB file and it's not stitched, you can open this file up in Embroidery Studio still, just because it'll come in as an EMB file, knowing that it's not an EMB file, like this, basically. And now, for the letters here, now, or the legs, as far as digitizing this, you see how nice and crisp these outlines are? Now I can just go in to my column B stitch and choose the satin stitch like this. And I can go in and just digitize this, because the outlines, they're perfect. Side one, I press enter. And then I do side two like this. Like this. Now remember, before with the graphic, I could just digitize. But now, because it's embroidery, I need a bridge to run from this leg to this leg, or I'm going to have a trim. And this is the difference for the embroidery, basically, and the graphics. Begin doing this now. Now I got to go. Now I got to go in. I got to digitize this independently now. Just like this. So I still win, because now I've got grade A graphic that I'm digitizing from. And if I want to print this, I can print this also And here I'll go to my stitch angle tools like this. Stitch angle tools, you go in and you turn the stitch angles like this. Just like this. And you'll run again to the next one. And you repeat this process, guys. So this is the really great thing about being able to go in and do this, seeing how it works with the graphic, taking it in, basically digitizing it, and then going in and digitizing so you can see the difference that it takes basically now versus the graphic image, which you can just digitize. But with the embroidery, in order for me to avoid unnecessary trims on my embroidery machine, I have to digitize the leg. Now I got to use a bridge to go to the next island here and continue with this process basically until I finish this design. I'll let you finish this design based on how you think this would work actually, but it's the same process. Once you go in and digitize everything like you see here, then you duplicate it and flip it over, just like I did earlier. This whole process here just enlightens you to be able to go in and do some incredible design work and do it smoothly without any headaches. Now for this one, I can't help myself. I got to digitize this leg. Just like this. Finish side 1, press enter. Now I digitize side 2 like this. Because the outlines are so simple, nothing like that first one. For the curves, you go to your stitch angle tool because this needs to curve like this. Because now you're not dealing with ink anymore. Now you're dealing with thread. Just like that. Okay, I'll do one antenna. I can't help myself. So here I go again like this. Go back to my column B stitch, side A, just like this, guys. Press enter, and then side 2. And once you get this down, you'll be on your way. I have a question here also. I love your questions, guys. When it comes to converting the lettering to embroidery, let me unlock everything. When you have the lettering like this, with the vector out, this has to be a vector. It'll work with a bitmap, but the vector is going to be just not clear. Once you click on the vector, here you have this tool. Don't want to go deep into this because this is a totally different class. But here, if I go in to my auto digitizing tools, here is a turning satin stitch object here. And once I click on that, it'll stitch it like this. But it's not going to be the same thing on all of them. It'll only do it this time because this is a single object. If I try it on this one, you see what happens? It's going to stitch it just like it did the solid fill, basically. Okay, that's what it's going to do for something like this. First thing I would do for something like this, I would still look inside the Wilcom fonts to see if you have a font that's close to this. These small letters here that we have on the screen here, because the design is 3 inches tall, some of them are going to work, some of them not. The ones that are not going to work are the ones that have the highlights on them. And what you end up doing for something like this, if I got to go in and digitize the G here like this, I would go in and digitize this using the column V stitch here with this one. You decide what you're going to stitch first. If I start here, as I go in, press enter, and you just start digitizing these separately like this. And we're out of time. And like I said, this is a whole different class. But here, as you go in, you're right-clicking on these. Best bet, if your Wilcom has a font, as close to this. We use that Wilcom font here as a stitch angle tool here like this. Now, when I do the turning strokes like this, now I got to go in. I got to turn these stitches now like this and press enter to make it look like this, like the strokes are turning. So this is how I'd have to go in and digitize this. I'll let you take care of the rest of this because I think it'll be a good exercise for you to go in. Let me save this here to do this with this design. But again, first check again to see if Wilcom has a font that matches this first. If not, then you're gonna have to go in and digitize this manually. But the graphic itself, you have the graphic, you have the vector design, and you have the best of both worlds here. That terrible artwork, this is what it looked like. And if you look at both of these from before to now, it's a drastic change, eh? This is what you can do inside the Wilcom Embroidry Studio 2025 software, guys. Thank you so much for your kind words. Do we have any other questions? Will there be a class on showing how to do the column A and B stitch? I'll make it happen. I add it to our schedule. This will be a class describing and explaining and showing how to use the column A, the satin stitch tools inside the software actually, and the complex fills. Yeah, we'll make it happen. Thank you guys for your kind words. Thank you so much. We ask that you visit us on social media, Instagram at Wilcom America, YouTube, X, Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest. Also visit us at wilcomamerica.com for training, scheduling, and wilcom.com for downloads, new software updates, and things like that also. Thank you so much for your time today, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Care. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me to support@wilcomamerica.com. In the subject, put attentions James. I'd love to hear from you guys as always. And thank you again for your time today, guys. And as always, happy digitizing.